Hey Tim, great to work with you again. Always a pleasure. Tim's one of the best ADR supers in the world, I'd say. And
Wow.
we would love to get some valuable advice from you.
Yeah. So, all right. So ADR. I mean, we can talk about the technical side of it, which is going to bore you to death. But essentially, let's. Why are we doing ADR, automated dialogue replacement? Why would we want to do it? We would want to do it where we've got lines that are either uh, we can't hear them because of either background noise. There was some issue with microphones. There's for all the technical reasons we might not be able to. So somebody's walking on. It's supposed to be a stone floor, but it's in a studio, and
Yeah.
it's actually hollow wood. So thud thud thud. That doesn't sound right. It's supposed to be a castle with stone floors. So we might re-record. There's nothing wrong with the recording, but we can't use it because of the feet. Or it's a moving shot with the rest of the camera crew. So there's one person walking down a corridor, but there are 10 pairs of feet
Yeah,
going
sure.
with them. So there's a lot like that. Then there's the added line. And the classic of, we've cut a scene out, so we need to stick a line in to explain what we just didn't just see because, or perhaps the studio thinks things aren't quite clear and we have to add a line in or change a line. So these are the reasons to do it. And a classic is, somebody turns around, you stick a line on the back of the head.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
that's the normal one.
Usually a plot
Once
point.
you once you start noticing, once you understand it, you start noticing them in films. I mean, for me, if I see that in a film, that tends to be the end of the film for me because then I'm chuckling. But so ADR. So the thing is, then you're going to get your actor into the studio with your list of lines, which will be printed out, each one with a time code, and we'll get either a streamer system, which sort of like comes across like this, and that's the start, or it goes beep beep beep, or you have countdowns. There's any number of different things, and people have different ideas of what they prefer, and each actor has their own preferred method, often, of
And
how to
some
do
of
things.
them like listening and repeating, don't
Well,
they?
that's a thing that came in well, a while back now, but I think the first people I ever came across doing that were Australian actors.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure that it was an Australian invention, but it seemed to me that the Australian actors seemed to do it. So yeah, you listen because it actually is a really good one. Is if you've got a sense of rhythm,
Yes.
you can hear the line like I'm coming to see you.
Yeah.
I'm coming to see you at 5 o'clock. So there's your line. So if they try and do it in sync, they're watching their mouths, which I always say, don't watch your mouths
Yeah.
because that's the worst way of doing it because you'll be out of sync because of the delay of vision to brain to speech. You're two
Mhm.
frames out all the time if you're not careful. Anyway, so yeah, I'm coming to see you at 5. So if you hear it said, you can close your eyes. You don't even have to look at the screen. So he goes, I'm coming to see you at 5. I'm coming to see you at 5. And you do it like that. Do it 3 times, A, B, C. What I found was some very famous Australian actors, as they tend to sort of keep going. And we might be have 25 takes, but by the time you got to take 6, they're so far from the original line, they're reinventing it. And
Yeah.
it's actually a completely different film and performance. But it's kind of difficult to say, yeah, stop, I think we got it.
And isn't it
Um,
quite difficult, Tim, when they've started another film and it might be a completely different accent,
yeah,
completely different character, and
yeah,
you've got to get them to reenact the other film?
yeah, yeah. Because it can be 12 months down the line. They've done 3 projects in the meantime.
Yeah,
Maybe the film that you're working on, they were doing a Belfast accent, and now they're doing something set in I don't know Yorkshire,
yeah,
and then their heads in a complete fuzz. So it's one of the things that happens. You get them in the studio, they have to listen to what they were doing. Sometimes you even have the voice coach back if they were doing an accent to sit, and they might work a couple of hours or so either the day before or before the session where they're getting themselves retuned into the accent. Oftentimes they'll want to see the cues. A couple of reasons. One is the agent's just kicking off. The other one is they want to see what it is that you're asking them to do because they're thinking you hate my performance.
yeah,
And no, we don't hate your performance. We love your performance, but there were chainsaws all over it, and it was supposed to be medieval England. And then the other one is the accent. If they've got to get the lines together, or in one case, one actor who's got an elderly fellow who's no longer with us. His vision was going, and he actually needed to learn the lines like
yeah,
a play. So he actually learnt all his lines, and it was the worst thing is they gave me a new line for him, which had come up the day before, and I gave him, and he got into an awful flap about it, which I then had to calm him down from and say, look, it's fine, it's just 2 words are different. We'll leave it to the end, and we'll take the time you need to get that right. So, so there's that sort of thing. So when you're working with people, one of the things I noticed with dialogue editing, or in fact sound editing across the board, is although a lot of people are creative, they do tend to come from technical backgrounds often, and they do tend to talk in technical terms.
Yeah.
So with ADR, there's a lot of technical aspects to it, but one of the things that really matters is your interpersonal relationship with the director, with the engineer who's recording. And basically everyone who's going to attend the session, you have to be the calm, controlled voice that explains. Oftentimes people don't want to do a line, they think it sounds fine, well, I don't tell them how to perform the line, so why do they tell me it sounds fine when I know it doesn't? But that's the nature of it.
You've got to persuade them gently.
You persuade you. Yes, it really isn't very good. Let's try it. We'll protect the original performance. Don't you worry. We'll just get this, and sometimes that is the case. But we're going to get this line. So you have to know how to handle people, and all actors are different. I mean, some come in and they're nice as pie, and they just see it as an opportunity. I love ADR, as one of them would say to me, and I love doing this. It's great fun because I get to tweak things. I get to see how they put my performance together, and then I can sort of reshape things a little, and go, no, I wouldn't have done it quite like that if you knew you were going to put it together in this way. Let me smooth that out. Others just panic because they either hate the process, because you're in a dark room.
That's right.
Big screen, red light. Maybe sometimes, it's just me and them and the engineer. Yeah. Sometimes there's, a whole load of production staff turn up because, I don't know, because
out of their comfort zone, aren't they?
And then suddenly they're on show. I mean, a lot of film actors aren't theatre actors. Theatre actors don't care about that because that's an audience. But film actors, well, they're used to, I guess, all the people on set, but it's a different vibe. You're very much in the set, so it's you and the other cast members. So I think they do, and of course they then don't tend to project as well. This is another thing. Half our thing is getting them to be as loud as they were on the day, because once you're outside, you will speak louder naturally, which everyone forgets, and it's so easy to forget because you're in a studio, which is quiet. So you don't need to project. So you say the line quietly. Well, no.
Which doesn't work to max.
Yeah, because that's the street with it's Manhattan. There's a lot of traffic. Remember, So that's our job, is to remind them and get them, to coax them back into what they were doing. Suggest to them how they might want to move in order to recreate what they're doing, what they were doing. Don't just stand there, or worse still, don't sit there if you're on your feet and you're walking. If you sat in a car, then fine, sit down. We'll set the mic accordingly, and you can sit in your chair, and you can even hold the steering wheel. Imagine. Yeah, I've done. I'll tell you what. Here's one that I did with. There was a film I did a couple of years back, which was set basically on jet skis out in the. It's supposed to be the Gulf of Mexico, but it was shot near Malta. Great little movie, and one of the girls in it, she was sitting on the jet ski, and we had to do the breathing and reactions and stuff as she was getting chased around. And so she sat on this stool and she made all the appropriate noises and played it back, and it just didn't have any bite to it at all. So I said, look, when you did this, what was it like out in the ocean? Remind yourself, what was it like? She said, well, actually, she had a little flimsy top on, shorts, and it was, because it was out on the open water, it was cold. Yeah. I said, okay, shall we put the aircon up a bit, make it a little more uncomfortable?
Good idea.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I said, look, it's quite now. Right now, it's quite nice in here, but let's make it a little more unpleasant. Let's help you with that. So whacked it right, down, and it's got, before long, those studios can
Yeah.
fluctuate so quickly. So it's getting cold. Then I said, okay. And the other thing, when you're on that jet ski, did you have to, how delicate was it for control? I mean, did you really have to get on? She goes, oh God, yeah, I really had to hold on because this thing's quite powerful. I said, right, I now know what is wrong. You're not cold enough, and you're not stressed enough, and you're not tense enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I got her on this stool, and with a little back there, and I said, grab the bottom of the stool, and when we go into record, pull as hard as you can up with your hands and push as hard as you can down with your ass into the seat, and do all the swinging around. Do it. And I said, when you're leaning on shot, lean. I said, well, Mike will be fine. We've got you clipped as well. And I said, and we did another take once the room was cold enough. Oh my God, the difference.
Yeah.
Because it was all physical. It's what she hadn't got. She wasn't being physical with it. And that's part of our job, is to.
And also, Tim, part of your creativity, which I adore, that cannot be replaced by AI, surely.
No. I mean,
the creative process, I don't think they'll ever get. I mean, they can replicate things.
Well, AI will do what you give it at the moment. It can't say for 100% that things won't develop and change. Those software engineers are amazingly clever, things. But as it stands, if you give a voice, you load a voice in. Don't give my voice, they use my voice, and then they can get so many syllables, and they can create a complete sort of bank of performance. But what they don't have is they don't have performance. So someone's still got to perform the line.
Yeah.
And what AI wouldn't be able to do is tell the actor how to do it louder.
Yes.
And well, frankly, massage egos where necessary.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, how's it going to do that? So what it'll do is it'll speed certain aspects of things up, and it might actually remove certain aspects of work, take it away, so that there may be some job losses along the way. There may be some, aspects that you just don't need as many people or whatever. But I can't see it yet replacing principal ADR, except for the odd added line. It's not going to be able to tell someone how to do it. You've still got to feed it. So, when people have done this, they've read the line in, but they wouldn't read it the same way as the actor would. They're doing it the way they would do it. And then it's using the actor's voice. But I mean, we're getting into such a world of hurt with copyright and things like that. We just shouldn't be doing that sort of stuff. But then there's the background. Of course, the other aspect of ADR is all the background stuff we do with group.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, again, we just have voice casting agencies, and we bring people in to be the people in the pubs and in the battle scenes. Again, there's certain levels of that can be done using AI. Like I can record my voice into something, and then I can borrow a different voice, and I can perform the line. But of course, not all dialogue and ADR editors are great at performance. In fact, I know quite a few who really aren't good at performance, and really oughtn't do it. but that's that's the thing. But it's not going to be able to do a group of 10 blokes having a fight.
Yeah.
It's not yet. I mean, we can. I'm sure there's someone who will say, "Oh, well, you think so? Well, I'll show you." Well, fine, yeah. But if you had a big battle thing, like like one of the episodes of,
I'll come in.
Okay, sorry, that was my wife. So you have a battle scene in Game of Thrones.
Sure.
We would be there for an entire day having full-on screaming.
Yeah, texture.
Yeah, adding those voices, just the death screams, the charging at each other. I mean, how are you going to do that on your own with an AI program? And it's not just going to do, I mean, I don't say it can't be done or that it won't be done, but right now and you're also taking the creativity out of it. There's such fun being in a room with a gang of people looking at the shot and going, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And actually thinking, what I need to hear here is this, and finding a way to do it. So, you know, I know I'm not the only one, but I've done it where you know, the mics that are up, the tendency of people just go up to the mic, and I've gone, well, no, let's take the mic off there. Let's do things with it, you know.
Yeah.
I had, you know, boom swinging. I've done plenty of that, and I did something on the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones, where Jon Snow is sinking into a pile of bodies. Well, I basically held the mic up like this, and I got all the guys surrounding me, and I just shrunk down, and they piled over the top of me.
Brilliant.
And we had my, you know, their voices sort of closing off and covering and smothering the mic as I'd sort of lowered it down to the ground. So we had this kind of whole thing of sinking and new voices coming in. And, you know, I suppose it probably sounds descriptively better than the end result. But the thing is, nobody before was thinking like that. They were just going, oh, well, we'll just have these guys come up and shout, and then these guys will walk past, and, you know, we'll take it in turns and circle around them. Oh, you know, and I'm trying constantly to look at ways that you can create something like, you know, the voices are off mic. Fine, let's have them off mic. Who cares? You know, if it's not going to work, it will just get lost in the atmospheres anyway. So it won't matter that they're off mic, because they'll just get, you know. So, you know, I think, you know, for ADR, you've just got to, the biggest thing is having the confidence to talk to people and not sit meekly at the back and box tick. You know, we've done that line, tick. You know, that's, you know, that's dull. You know, you actually, one of the things with ADR is you are actually, as I pointed out to on TV, for example, the directors, certainly in American shows, there is no director, it's the showrunners, and they aren't there. So this actress said to me, well, when's the director getting here? I said, you're looking at him. And she just was completely, she said, well, you didn't direct the film. I said, no, I'm directing the performance for the recordings. That's my job. Oh, well, and she was quite put out because I wasn't the main guy. And I said, well, it doesn't work like that in American TV. That's, you know, the director's done his cut. You know, but she's gone, done.
Even some of the more experienced actors, I found if there's a very delicate scene in the film, if the director's not there, they can sometimes get the hump, and you've got to comfort them and persuade them. I'm sorry, he's on another film in Sydney, but sorry, we've got to get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of another American actress, very famous American actress, who I was brought in to do a recording session with on a film I wasn't working on. And these are the days, you know, before we all connect to studios abroad via Zoom and various other systems. And I'd been brought in as a sort of stringer just to do this job. And I arrived, and I was quite thinking, she's quite cool. I mean, you know, I'm quite looking forward to this, bit of a laugh. She turns up, she has a face like thunder. I mean, she looks like she could kill. And I introduced myself, and she's kind of taking her coat off, and she has sort of long gloves on. It's winter, so she's taking this stuff, and she's kind of looking at me like this through the whole process. She's not looking at what she's doing. She's just looking at me. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to die. I think she's just going to eat me for breakfast. She's clearly not happy. And then she said, and what time is, and I don't remember the director's name, but we'll call him David because it's easy. So what time is David getting here? And I said, oh, yeah, sorry, with David. Yeah, he's actually in the States, but he's not going to be able to join us because he has some other, well, to be honest, I don't know what it is he's doing, but whatever it is, it's something he can't tear himself away from. So I've been asked to say it. And she looked at me, she went, oh, thank God for that. He's such an ass. She said, darling, we're going to have the greatest time together. We'll have such fun doing this. And we did.
Brilliant.
And I mean, that, you know, it's like what you don't understand or you have to get to is the relationships that have gone on before you turn up.
You don't know about.
You know, you get told by the director that certain people might be difficult or or might be nervous. You get some feedback, and sometimes you find out actually it's because you shouted at them on set and they're scared to death, you know, or that they're, you know, they're just like rely on their notoriety of being a tricky customer. You know, some of them enjoy that, you know, some of them actually are just like that. And others, as again, it's reading each person as they come in, figuring out what are they like, and also as we said very much earlier, is like, you know, do you work to lines? Do you work to beeps? Do you like to listen and repeat? In fact, there was one actor I figured out just about everyone. There was one actor I worked on with. He was actually down the line to New York, and he couldn't get anything in sync. And he couldn't do listen and repeat. It didn't work for him. He couldn't do anything on that. We tried everything, right? But I kept listening to how he was doing the scene. He was sort of like reading the lines. I said, look, do you know your performance? Because I said, you strike me as a kind of actor that you have it off. You've heard what you did, and you replicate. And I'm listening to your timing, and you're very close, but you don't seem to be able to do it with yourself or after yourself. And I go, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's just play the scene. I'm going to play it, and you're going to just do the lines as you see yourself on screen. Just do it. Just follow your actions. And he did it. One take, and it was virtually bang on in sync.
Wow.
And he went, whoa, hang on, that's really odd. And I said, let's do another take. So I've got another option. And we did a second take. And it was very, very close. And I said, well, between the two, I now have everything I need. So if we want to do a line again, by all means, or if you want to play around with it. And he said, this is great. I've always hated ADR. He said, I've always come in and because of what happened, I couldn't get it in sync. And he said, but you're the first person I've worked with that's ever suggested doing something completely out of the blue.
You're giving them confidence.
And I said, but I was just listening to you. And I was trying to understand why you can't do what many other people can do quite easily. And I don't know why you can't, but you seemingly can't. But what you can do is you seem to be able to watch yourself on screen and just be it. And I said, the great thing is, I said, it's just one scene, really. I said, you perform the entire scene as though you were on set. You just did it.
Yeah.
And I said, I think that's great. And it all means that it all sounds in the same kind of place.
Fantastic.
So who knew?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely brilliant, Tim. Thank you so much. I think it's really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. I look forward to working with you again.
Yeah. I'll throw mics at you.